one thing I want to address is striking. Now, guys, I'm a huge fan of boxing and kickboxing and Muay Thai. They're all phenomenal. Matter of fact, if you could only do one system of striking, I would believe Muay Thai is the ultimate striking martial art because it addresses realistic hands and realistic feet. And they call it the art of 8 limbs because you're using elbows, knees. It's very effective. That being said, modern boxing, as great as it is, I like to use Mike Tyson as an example, probably the greatest boxer there ever was. I probably pissed some people off. Oh no, Muhammad Ali. No, Joe Louis was. Guys, Muhammad Ali, phenomenal martial artist, and I say that because boxing to me is a martial art. But man, there was just something special about Mike Tyson. That he's probably the greatest striker that ever was as far as just punching. But he's even broken his hands several times, like in the past, doing street fighting because he trained the sport of boxing. Pre-sport boxing was pugilism or fisticuffs, and they fought very differently. And you see the old-timey stands like this, guys. There was a reason for it. It looks like it's not very practical, but they would throw vertical punches. And then that I can relate to that because I actually trained Kaji Kembo, Tumpai center line variation. It's a softer Southern Kung Fu influenced system of Kaji Kembo, not the harder system that some people understand or recognize. There are several branches of Kaji Kembo. I'm not going to get into that. But the system I studied was a lot of vertical punching, very Wing Chun-ish in a lot of ways, but in my opinion, much more effective. And I'm pissing people off, I'm sure. Wing Chun limits themselves because all they ever do is fight against other Wing Chun people. Kaiji Kembo took the idea of vertical punching. They'll also incorporate like hook punches and stuff like that. Kaiji Kembo is a very effective striking system and self-defense system. I just didn't like the forms. I think they're a waste of time. But what I learned from that time is not only the vertical punch, almost an inverted punch, upside down. When you box, when boxers are boxing, they're rotating in, and I'll throw in the Jack Dempsey drop step that Jack Dempsey talks about in his book, also Bruce Lee. That drop step, but a lot of people inadvertently leave their elbows out. Now this is like, please, thank you very much. May I have another Christmas is coming early territory for grapplers. A good wrestler, a good grappler is going to get up under that elbow and take you down. Now, boxing is, I'm not going to argue with it. It's probably, they're phenomenal, hardcore, hard strikers. They can knock you out quick, fast, and in a hurry. Vertical punching can be as strong, maybe not quite as strong, but it's safer for the knuckles, because you remember bare knuckle fighting back in the day, pugilism, they didn't wear gloves. Only the modern sport of boxing does, and that's why someone like Mike Tyson, who is like a master striker, would break his hands in a street fight. He has, dude. It's been on the news back in the day because they're so used to punching with the pillows on their hands. Well, pugilism or fisticuffs, old school bare knuckle boxing is very different. They would go like 10, 15, 20 rounds sometimes, crazy athletic ability. But they didn't have as much of the hook punches that we have nowadays, because you can break your hand really easily with a hook punch. It's super powerful. You can knock somebody out hardcore. You hit them on one of the knockout buttons in your Indian pipe, and you come up, boom, right into the triangle of death, I call it. In a striking, you knock somebody out here, knock somebody out on the chin, knock somebody out on the temple. Another one straight in the chin. I like the vertical punching that I learned in Kaji Kembo because it's safer. It keeps the elbows in. It's better against grapplers. It's still super easy to do the drop step. Bruce Lee talks about it in his books. He uses it in Jeet Kune Do. That lead drop step, elbow down, is very good to protect you. Everything is straight in. And you're hitting with these two knuckles. Not as easy in a traditional boxing punch. Guys, I'm not a boxer, but I observe not as easy. You get what's called a boxer's fracture quite a bit because people are hitting with these knuckles. they come in and they're smaller and hit with these knuckles. Even professional boxers will do that when they're not wearing gloves. Where if you keep it inverted or vertical, or even upside down almost, it's almost like a combination of a vertical punch and a uppercut from out here. So I like to drop out from here, and I'm coming straight in like this. I'm still protecting myself like a boxer would, and I still incorporate the hooks, but I like to incorporate it like this. So it's just easier to hit with these two knuckles. You will see me do what I call a casting punch. You see the Sambo fighters introduced it into the UFC, where there'll be boom, and then they'll throw this casting punch out here. And they're still hitting with these two knuckles. It's out here, but it's almost like a setup to get into the grappling range. And striking is a phenomenal system, but the best strikers or the best grapplers that were able to translate and convert to MMA also incorporated a good striking system. They're using their strikes to work their way in to a grappling range. That's super important to emphasize, because I'm a mediocre, horrible wrestler. I have bad knees, I got a bad hip, I'm 50. I'm not gonna do any of the high-speed, low-drag collegiate wrestling that you see these college and high school guys doing. Plus, on the street, you're doing a lot of dropping down on your knees, not so good. But if you're using a good striking system to get in to a grappling range, it's very beneficial. And to get back on the concept of striking, if you're gonna strike, you should strike in a manner you're not gonna break your hand. I like to teach, when I teach control tactics, I emphasize open palm. It's not that I think it's better than a fist. I personally use a fist, because I'm not concerned about breaking my knuckles as much, because in my mind, I know how to strike. But on the street, I like to teach people who are only getting 8 hours of control tactics a year and not doing anything on their own, i.e. Most law enforcement officers. But if you are gonna punch on the street, I recommend the vertical strike. And very powerful off the line with that lead, boom. You can come in close with your elbows. It's a great way to feed in. Guys, again, I'm not a boxer. I don't claim to be a boxer. But my system of striking is designed for the street, for combining with grappling. Because you've probably seen a lot of grappling on my channel. Yes, because it needs to be taught to cops. Grappling, everybody wants to strike because it feels good to them, but they don't know how to grapple. Most cops are clueless in the clinch range and on the ground. You have to have that in your system of control tactics and combatives. You must. You must have a basic understanding of it. But to teach it, it's easier to teach them to strike their way into it. And guys, that's why I emphasize the clinch range so much, because that's the range in between striking. A lot of times you get tangled up when you're striking. They're protecting themselves, and you clash, and before you know it, you're in a clinch. Or you're trying to arrest somebody with a come-along hold, and they turn on you, and before you know it, you're in a clinch. So clinching is probably the most important range to teach on your feet, because at the very least, you can shell up and protect yourself from being knocked out long enough to get into the grappling range. But I'm a big fan of striking, because if I can daze them, send them in a whirl before I even get into clinch range, knock them a little fuzzy, great. It's a great control tactics technique. It's very applicable to law enforcement. Guys, you absolutely can strike in police work. You're already hitting people with a baton. Why won't you be able to hit them with your fist or with your leg? In 23 years, I've never actually hit anybody with my baton. I think I've used it twice. I once put it in a chain link fence so another officer could stand on it to get over the fence. I've used it on a dog. I poked the dog with it. I've never used a baton on the street. I used to carry a Yawara stick in the jail when I worked as a corrections deputy back in the day, and there's a couple times where I pulled it out, but even then I was like hooking it and I can do these quick little bursts with it. I can't remember a time where I use a lot of time. So I'm a big fan of teaching it. It's absolutely a great tool. But guys, I personally just don't use it very often. All right, I'm going to cover more striking in the future, but I need your input. Everybody, let me know what you want to see. Tell me what you think of my ideas and concepts of striking. And if you have any requests, let me know. All right, thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.
Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out.